We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi returns after he cut short his Saudi Arabia visit in view of the dastardly terror attack in Pahalgam to hold security meet. Search ops for gruesome attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam continues. At least 16 killed and several injured. Efforts on to bring the attackers to justice. Union Home Minister Amit Shah, J&K, LG Manoj Sinha and Chief Minister Omar Abdullah hold key meeting on terror attack, vow to neutralize terrorist. World leaders condemn Pahalgam terror attack, extend unstinting support to India, calls it a deeply disturbing news and a brutal crime. International Monetary Fund slashes growth forecast, warns trade war risks, worsening outlook. And on to the details now. At least 16 people were killed after gunmen opened a fire on a group visiting Pahalgam, a popular tourist destination in South Kashmir, on Tuesday. The attack took place in Baisaran Meadow, around 5 kilometers from Jammu and Kashmir resort town of Pahalgam. The attack claimed the lives of several tourists, including a young Indian Navy officer from Karnal, Lieutenant Vinay Narwal, who had recently married, an accounts officer from Odisha, a businessman from Karnataka. 5 tourists from Maharashtra were also among the dead. As news of the terror attack targeting tourists in Kashmir spread, the Resistance Front TRF, a shadow group of the banned Pakistan-based terror group Lashkar-e-Taiba, claimed the responsibility. Army, CRPF and local police rushed to Baisaran after initial news came in of gunshots being heard. A massive anti-terrorist operation has been launched to neutralize the terrorist. The incident comes amid a surge in tourist arrivals in Kashmir Valley ahead of the annual Amarnath Yatra beginning on July 3rd. While condemning the gruesome terror attack, Union Home Minister Amit Shah held a high-level meeting in Srinagar. He also briefed Prime Minister Narendra Modi about the incident. He vowed that those involved in this dastardly act of terror will not be spared, and we will come down heavily on the perpetrators with the harshest consequences. And in a heartfelt show to express solidarity and condemnation, local residents in Jammu and Kashmir held a candlelight march on Tuesday, mourning the loss of innocent lives in Pahalgam terror attack. Residents turned up for a candlelight march at several places in the state against the gruesome terror attack. Also, the locals in Baramulla, Srinagar, Poonch and Kupwara also held a candlelight march. Locals in Akhnur area of the territory also held candle march protesting against the Pahalgam terror attack. And we have Salman Qazi joining us from Srinagar. Well, Salman, how is the situation there right now? How are the locals reacting? We saw the candle march happening. What is the situation?
There have been spontaneous protests all across the J&K state, in Jammu, in Srinagar, in Kupwara, in Baramulla. And there has been an all-round condemnation from all the significant political actors. The Chief Minister Omar Abdullah has said this is a tragedy, and he has tweeted very strongly. Meanwhile, Omar Farooq has also condemned this attack. There have been protests in almost all the major towns against this thing. There, there are there are there have been there have been Bandh calls by most of the trade bodies and private school associations in condemnation of this attack. So this, in terms of the public reaction, the attack has been totally negative, and people have output their anger and grief in various protests against this attack.
All right, Salman. Also, what's the latest as far as the search operations are concerned? What's happening at that front right now?
You have to understand this is a very heavily forested area, and these forests run deep. Basically, these forests cover areas from Pahalgam to Kishtwar to Srinagar. So it will be an operation that will be very difficult to launch. So obviously, the security forces, when they will launch the operation, they will do it in a very deliberate manner with. So as to ensure that the perpetrators are brought to the justice. So definitely, there has been a search operation here, but this search operation is not like in a very small area, confined area, because this Baisaran, this small valley, this is surrounded on all sides by the forest, and obviously they would have melted into those forests, and there will be search operations, but they have to be on a much larger scale than people imagine. So definitely, the security forces will be conducting search operations, but these search operations will be conducted at multiple places. They have to be conducted over much larger areas.
All right. Salman, also, what's the condition of the injured, and how are the diseased bodies being sent and coordinated by the state government?
They were initially taken to the Pahalgam hospital, and then some of the more serious have been taken to the base hospital, army base hospital in Srinagar. And they are being. We have not been able to access the information about what has been the condition of all the injured, but we have been told that most of them are stable. But about the death toll and the number of injured, the information is very scant, and we have not been provided much information about this thing.
Okay. Also, how frozen will be the tourism sector now there, and what are the tourists there saying?
Obviously, this is a very scary act for any tourist. I mean, nobody will want to visit a place where there are dangers for this thing. So what we have been told initially, that there have been mass kind of cancellation of bookings, and that is quite expected. The state government, on its instance, they have the tourists who had to go to Pahalgam, they have been taken to Gulmarg instead, and helplines have been established both in Pahalgam, Srinagar, as well as in Gulmarg. So the state government is trying to kind of limit the fallout of this attack, but I do think that this would have a very chilling effect on the sentiments of the tourists, and the tourism sector, at least for this year, would be very subdued.
Right. Also, Salman, how are the flights being coordinated, and which special flights are being run at the moment?
There are flights. There has been no announcement of special flights as of now, but I think in the meantime they will come up with the special flights, because I think there will be a huge outward rush of people who have been stuck. And I have to add that the national highway, the road that connects Srinagar to Jammu, is also under repairs because we have had a spate of very bad weather in the last week, which basically has destroyed a patch of the road, and so most of the people who have to go out of Kashmir at this time, they'll have to take flights. But right now,
All right, Salman, thank you so much for all that detail. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi has returned back to India early morning today after cutting short the Saudi Arabia visit. Prime Minister Modi cut short Saudi visit and has landed in Delhi after the dastardly terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir yesterday. Several tourists were injured, and Prime Minister cut short his visit to Saudi and returned early morning today to India. The Prime Minister was originally scheduled to return towards the night today, and now he has reached India early morning. The Prime Minister also skipped the official dinner hosted by Saudi Arabia yesterday in view of the terror attack. Prime Minister Narendra Modi cut short his visit to Saudi Arabia due to the terrorist attack in Pahalgam, and he left Jeddah yesterday night and arrived in Delhi today early morning in lieu of the terrorist attack in Jammu and Kashmir yesterday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi returned to India, and National Security Advisor also briefing the Prime Minister there. Prime Minister cut short his Saudi visit and returned to India today morning, and now being briefed by the NSA about the terrorist attack in India. Prime Minister Modi landed in Delhi early morning today after cutting short his Saudi visit. He was supposed to return today night, but he's cut short his visit and returned to India in lieu of the terrorist attack in Pahalgam. Prime Minister being briefed about the terror attack after cutting short his Saudi visit and returning to India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has vowed not to spare the terrorists involved in the attack on the tourist and has cut short his visit . Prime Minister Modi cut short his Saudi visit, lands in Delhi and likely to hold cabinet meetings also today. By being briefed by the NSA about the attack, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, after cutting short his Saudi visit, has returned to India. The attack took place in Pahalgam's Baisaran Meadow yesterday. At least 16 people were killed after the gunmen opened fire on the group visiting Pahalgam yesterday. The attack took place in Baisaran Meadow, around 5 kilometers from Jammu and Kashmir resort town of Pahalgam, and Prime Minister Modi held telephonic conversation with the Home Minister Amit Shah. Also, Amit Shah is already in Srinagar and has held meetings there. As the attack took place in the Baisaran Meadow, around 5 kilometers from the Jammu and Kashmir resort town of Pahalgam, and the attack claimed the lives of several tourists, including a young Indian Navy officer from Karnal, Lieutenant Vinay Narwal, who was recently married, and an accounts officer from Odisha, a businessman from Karnataka. 5 tourists from Maharashtra were also among the dead. There has been international condemnation also about the attack. The world leaders have condemned the Pahalgam terror attack, extended unstinting support to India, and called it a deeply disturbing news and a brutal crime. In fact, Union Home Minister Amit Shah, J&K Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha and Chief Minister Omar Abdullah have also held key meetings on the terror attacks, and they have vowed to neutralize the terrorist. Search operations for the gruesome attack in Jammu and Kashmir in Pahalgam are continuing. At least 16 people have died and several injured. The efforts are on there to bring the attackers to justice. Prime Minister Narendra Modi returning back after cutting short his Saudi Arabia visit in view of the dastardly terror attack in Pahalgam. He is to hold a security meet today. And the world leaders have condemned the Pahalgam terror attack, have extended unstinting support to the country, to India, and they have called it a deeply disturbing and a brutal crime. Prime Minister, after being landed, has been briefed by the NSA and the Foreign Secretary, and they'll be holding a cabinet meeting soon to take steep actions over the dastardly attack in Pahalgam yesterday. In fact, condemning the gruesome terror attack, Union Home Minister Amit Shah also held a high-level meeting in Srinagar. He had also briefed Prime Minister Narendra Modi about the incident. And it has been vowed that those involved in this dastardly act of terror will not be spared. And we have Debyendu Mondal joining us for more on this. Well, Debyendu, Prime Minister cut short his visit to Saudi and has landed in Delhi. A security meeting expected today. Tell us more.
Is absolutely cowardice, it was indeed, the Prime Minister indeed had to cut short his visit from Saudi Arabia, which was supposed to be ending later this night, but he had to come back last night itself, and today morning he just landed at the Delhi airport. So first, key meetings will be taking place this morning as soon as Prime Minister reaches his residence. What we are given to understand is that Cabinet Committee on Securities meeting has also been called, and which will be undertaken by the top officials of the government, the top ministers of the government, to understand the security situations in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. And we also know that Home Minister Amit Shah is already in the state of Jammu and Kashmir following the attack which happened last afternoon in Pahalgam, which is a tourist place. And what we're given to also understand is that a large number of tourists and unarmed civilians have been killed in this particular attack. So of course, it is also being understood that after the CCS meeting is held at the Prime Minister's residence, we'll have more details as to what the strategy perhaps of the government will be. But the Prime Minister cutting short his visit to Saudi Arabia it gives us a sense of how important this issue is to the government, and the government is going to take perhaps stock of the situation and understand how the situation is in the state of Jammu and Kashmir at the moment.
Right, Debyendu, also as you said, and we know that Amit Shah also held a high-level meeting in Srinagar yesterday. He also briefed the Prime Minister about the incident. Any information on that?
Of course, as soon as the news came in that that attack did take place and a large number of lives, what we're given to understand is that I believe about 26 lives have been lost. Innocent lives of civilians, of tourists who were there to enjoy their holidays at the beautiful meadows of Pahalgam had to lose their lives because of the ghastly terrorist attack there. So of course, as soon as this incident happened, Home Minister Amit Shah briefed the Prime Minister because he was not in India. He was on a diplomatic foreign tour in Saudi Arabia, and of course, the Prime Minister was apprised by the Home Minister, and as soon as the Prime Minister was apprised, I believe a decision was taken for him to come back to India, because his presence in India was much needed, and that is what he has done, and he cut short his visit. What we are also given to understand is that he skipped the official dinner that was supposed to be hosted in his honor by the Saudi prince and the king. So therefore, he did not want to celebrate because it was his citizens that were bleeding. So of course, he wanted to come back to India, and that is what did happen. And I believe he has already landed in New Delhi.
Yes,
so
he has.
Of course, the important meetings will take place throughout the day, and investigations are of course underway. We do understand that a lot of movements have already happened from New Delhi to the state of Jammu and Kashmir in terms of the investigating officers and the intelligence agencies, and the Prime Minister will be apprised even in the CCS meeting as to what the situation is.
Also, when the moment the Prime Minister landed in India, NSA and Foreign Secretary were there, to inform him, to brief him about the incident. Can you tell us about that?
Well, it is a formal protocol of the government that the National Security Advisor has to brief the Prime Minister on the situation if such an attack will take place. So of course he was briefed because he was not in India, he was on a foreign land, and he had to be briefed by the NSA. So the NSA did brief him as to what security measures or what investigative measures are being taken place. Of course, the NSA along with all the intelligence agencies will also carry out their investigation to understand that who were behind these attacks and what action so far has been taken. So of course, what we understand is also that an offshoot, of the NET has already claimed responsibility for this attack. But of course, the investigations will bring out more details as to who exactly were responsible. And I believe that the army has also launched a manhunt throughout the night in the state of Jammu and Kashmir to bring the perpetrators of this heinous crime. In fact, it's a terrorist crime to justice. So of course, the NSA did brief about the steps that his government has taken in his absence here in India.
Right. Debindu, also the world leaders have condemned the Pahalgam attack. They have extended unstinting support to India. Of course, international condemnation happening. Debindu, are you with us?
Yes, I could not hear. I missed your
Ajit,
question.
Debindu, the world leaders have strongly condemned the gruesome attack, and they have extended unstinted support to India. They have, of course, called the act as deeply disturbing.
Well, of course, as soon as the news started rolling out, we have seen, messages pouring out from across the world. We also know that U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance is visiting India, and he was one of the first to tweet after Prime Minister Narendra Modi tweeted that that he stands with the families and he's grieving and because of that attack. And of course, we saw that J.D. Vance also expressed his condolences to the family and criticized this attack, and did say that he will. Of course, the United States does not approve of this attack. So, of course, we saw Donald Trump, Russia's President Vladimir Putin, and even across all leaders from across the world did put out their condolences and message, and of course condemned this heinous attack and this dastardly terrorist attack on innocent civilians. So, of course, world leaders are standing together in such at such a time to condemn a terrorist attack on unarmed civilians, that too at a tourist place, is of course has shocked the world leaders as well. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi also held a meeting with the Saudi king and the Saudi prince MBS and apprised him about the situation in Jammu and Kashmir. So, of course, we saw from state of from US to Russia to UAE to Saudi Arabia, and different nations of the European Union have also come out in support and solidarity with all the families that are grieving today because of this dastardly terrorist attack.
All right. Also, Devendu, in fact, the attack is much larger than anything we have, we've seen directed at the civilians in recent years. And any travel advisory issued for people there?
Oh, well, there is no travel advisory as far as that has been issued at the moment. But of course, the district administration of Pahalgam have already issued helpline and assistance numbers for all the families who are looking for their loved ones who had gone on a holiday there. And, the injured people have already been taken to the hospital at the district hospital in Pahalgam and are being treated. Home Minister's office is directly in contact with the office of the Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir as well as the LG of Jammu and Kashmir to help and facilitate all the people that have been injured or the people, if I call the relatives of the people who have been killed in this attack. So, of course, the administration, the government of Jammu and Kashmir are also working in tandem with the central government and the Ministry of Home Affairs, and of course Amit Shah being present himself in Jammu and Kashmir and taking meetings in the states with the Chief Minister, with the Home Secretary, with the security agencies chief, intelligence agencies chief, is of course important at this point in time to motivate the forces that are on ground and also to understand the situation. So, of course, there are no travel advisory as such, but of course there are precautions that has to be taken, and the armed forces as well as the security agencies that are present on ground have cordoned off that entire area and have also put strict security measures in place.
Right, Devendu. In fact, this has been a clear attack on the tourism sector. What could it mean for it, and how frozen will be the tourism sector after this?
Well, of course, the tourism sector will be much affected by this because such an attack on civilians and especially on tourists in the state of Jammu and Kashmir have been taking place almost after two and a half decades. So, of course, I was also listening to a couple of the locals of Jammu and Kashmir, and they're very upset with the fact that, such an attack did take place, and it will affect the tourism of the state. And of course, this will demotivate people to travel to the state, given the fact that, of the volatile situation there. And it comes at a time, of course, Vipakshi, it comes at a time when the people, in fact, when the state was crippling back to increasing tourism, and the tourism, and in fact, even last year, 2024, recorded highest number of tourists in almost one decade in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. So, of course, this attack on tourists will definitely impact and demotivate people from across different parts of, not just from India, but also from abroad to visit that state.
In fact, Debendu, if we talk about the attack, it points to a desperate shift in the strategy, is it?
Well, the Pakistan have always been trying to, shift its focus to Jammu and Kashmir. But of course, the state that was limping back and, regaining confidence amongst the people after the abrogation of Article 370 to bring back tourism and
right, Debendu, we'll just continue with you. Let us tell our viewers that immediately on his arrival, Prime Minister took a brief meeting at the airport with NSA Doval and EAM Jai Shankar, FS Misri to discuss the situation in view of the terror attack. Prime Minister immediately on landing took a meeting with the NSA and Foreign Secretary and EM Dr. Jai Shankar about the incident yesterday and about the planning as to what will now be taken into consideration for after the attack. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in fact, has vowed not to spare the terrorists involved in the attack on the tourist sector which happened yesterday, and immediately on his arrival, Prime Minister took a briefing. He took a brief meeting at the airport itself with the NSA and the Foreign Secretary and EAM Dr. Jai Shankar about the incident. Prime Minister cut short his visit to Saudi and returned early morning today, and immediately on his arrival took a briefing meeting at the airport with NSA Doval, EAM Dr. Jai Shankar, Foreign Secretary Misri to discuss the situation in view of the terror attack. Right, Debendu, as we told our viewers that Prime Minister has taken, after landing, he has immediately taken a small meeting at the airport itself with the EAM Dr. Jai Shankar, the Foreign Secretary and Ajit Doval. Tell us how desperate is this move by Islamabad actually to disturb the valley at this important time?
Well, Vipakshi, the Prime Minister cutting short his visit to Saudi Arabia itself gives an important message of how serious the situation is. And the Prime Minister, as soon as he landed in India, he did take a meeting of all the senior officials, including the NSA, the Foreign Secretary, as well as the Foreign Minister of India. And in a short while from now, we are also expecting the CCS meeting to take place. So, of course, this is a very, very important situation for India. And, the Prime Minister did say that the terrorists who carried out this attack or cowardice attack on innocent lives and took away innocent lives will not be spared. And, and strategies, of course, will be talked out with all the intelligence agencies, the army, as well as the cabinet ministers and the cabinet committee on security as to how confidence amongst people in the state of Jammu and Kashmir would be reinstilled. And strategies will, of course, today will be a very, very important day as to how the government carries out different meetings and takes decisions to further instill confidence amongst the people, not just in Jammu and Kashmir but also from across and also across the country, so that the state remains safe. So of course this is a very, very important meeting. What I believe is that Prime Minister must have been apprised by the NSA as to what actions have so far been taken by the different intelligence agencies as well as the security officials in Pahalgam as well as in Jammu and Kashmir, and has there been any arrest or has there been any news of the terrorists who carried out these attacks. And what we are also given to understand is that there were about 4 to 5 people that carried out these, in fact, gunned, armed terrorists who carried out this attack in the meadows of Pahalgam. Has anyone been caught yet? Have anyone been, what are the efforts that have been taken out throughout the night for the manhunt? Of course, these are some of the things that will be, that must have been discussed in this very, very crucial meeting at the airport as soon as the Prime Minister landed.
Of course, a very, very crucial time also. Debendra, Prime Minister not sparing a moment after landing in India, cutting short his visit to Saudi and being briefed immediately by the 3 important people. The Prime Minister did not even spare a moment after landing. Debendra, he took a meeting immediately right at the airport.
Well, of course, the situation is that the Prime Minister did not spare even a moment. So of course, this calls out, or in fact gives a sense of how important the situation is or the matter is for the government. And 26, the unofficial figure says that 26 innocent lives have been lost so far. So of course, the Prime Minister and the government is very, very serious about this. They are going to chalk out every strategy to ensure that confidence is instilled amongst the people of this country, that such terrorist attacks on innocent lives will not go down in vain. So of course, the government will talk every strategy to ensure that the perpetrators of this heinous terrorist attack is brought to justice. So of course, such important meetings will be taking place throughout the day today, with the Prime Minister heading each of those meetings, and the Prime Minister will be apprised even from the state of Jammu and Kashmir as to what actions have been taking place so far.
Right, Debendra, any update from the army headquarters in Delhi?
Well, there are no official updates from the army headquarters so far. There is only that the army is doing everything possible to ensure that the perpetrators of this crime are caught or in fact shot at as soon as they are sighted. And a manhunt is of course launched across the state of Jammu and Kashmir to nab them. But there are no official words as to what actions have been taken place, because it is an ongoing operation, and the army do not give out information on an ongoing operation. So of course we have to wait after the operation is completed.
Right, Debendra. In fact, there is any major deployment which has been done by the army there?
Well, there have been a lot of deployments since yesterday that has already taken place in the region of Pahalgam, and also remember in a couple of days from now, in fact in a couple of weeks from now, the Amarnath Yatra was also supposed to take place, which begins from Pahalgam. So this is a time when a lot of army personnel are already deployed in Pahalgam, or would be deployed in a couple of days in Pahalgam to ensure the smooth passage of the tourists or the pilgrims that goes to Amarnath for the Yatra. So of course, a lot of police personnel as well as the paramilitary as well as the armed personnel would be present at this particular time, and after this terrorist attack, and of course there is a lot of much heavier deployment that have been put in place in the in that particular area, and the army, along with the local intelligence as well as the national intelligence, have launched a manhunt for these terrorists.
Right, Dibyendu. In fact, if we talk about that Pahalgam area, the Baisaran Meadows, it is quite in the upper reaches of the Pahalgam, and the terrorists have been able to kind of escape from there after the attack.
Well, they were not, of course, immediately caught, but the Meadows is such a place which has to be, which doesn't have a motorable road to reach. This place is reached by either a pony or by walking or by hiking or trekking. So of course, the terrorists did chalk out very, very strategic plans to, and of course this has been a meticulous planning through which, this attack must have taken place, because this cannot be done at the spur of the moment, because there were 5 heavily armed gunmen that shot at tourists that were having their time, and in fact, some reports also do suggest that there were young couples that had come on a honeymoon. So of course, this was a desperate attempt by the terrorists, by our neighbors, Pakistan perhaps, to create disturbance in the state or in the valley, in the state of Jammu and Kashmir once again, because it was a time when the state was going back to its glorious days after the application of Article 270. Tourism was flourishing. A lot of summits, international summits, were also taking place in Jammu and Kashmir. So of course, this is now once again a hard time for the state, because this will impact tourism, as also locals have been saying that this will definitely impact tourism. But of course, the upper reaches of Meadows is a beautiful place. I have personally been there, some years back. So of course, it's a beautiful place in Pahalgam, where it is lush green, surrounded with long pine trees. It's a beautiful place for a time like this, when it's sunny afternoons. People do go to enjoy their picnic in those particular meadows. It's also known as mini Switzerland by the locals. So of course, it's a tourist attraction. It's a tourist destination, with tourists from across different parts of the country that visit Jammu and Kashmir do visit this particular meadow in Pahalgam. So of course, this attack was done after meticulous planning by the terrorists, and it is also we'll also have to wait for official confirmation as to whether the terrorists arrived from across the border, or how did they arrive, through which sector did they arrive into India, how did they sneak in their arms and ammunition. We'll have to wait for official confirmation from the government as well as from the army as to what their investigation revealed, and how were they able to make it to the place where they had carried out this attack.
Right, Dibyendu, of course, a lot of questions arise, and this comes, of course, at the time when tourism was at its peak in the state. It was flourishing, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi, after landing today, has taken this short, immediate meeting at the airport itself, and he's vowed not to spare the terrorists involved in the attack on the tourists in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam. In fact, he said that those behind this heinous attack will be brought to justice and they'll not be spared. He's been very categorical there.
Well, of course, Lipakshi, the government is very clear that the perpetrators of this heinous crime will be brought to justice. And we have seen, we have also been talking about previously about this, how the world stands by the side of India at this point in time. And, various countries, including the US, Russia, have showed solidarity and support to the government of India, and have categorically said that they stand by, by the side of India. And in fact, we have also seen Donald Trump as well as Vladimir Putin putting out personal messages to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, showing their support as to how the perpetrators of this crime will not be spared and and they will be brought to justice. So of course, the world stands united on the issue of terrorism. Each country has expressed their solidarity with India and have vowed to stand by India and not spare any terrorist, who carries out attacks on innocent people.
Debindu, in fact, after the terror attack yesterday in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam, major cities including Delhi and Mumbai also have been put on high alert.
Well, it is again a precautionary measure where all the major cities of India have been put on high alert, and security has been beefed up in the national capital of Delhi and also all the other major cities. Also remember, US Vice President J.D. Vance is also on a visit to India, and of course the security has been heightened in Rajasthan as well, because he's been visiting that state, and we also understand that probably he is visiting Agra later in the day today, and security measures will also be beefed up there. Apart from the states like Delhi, the national capital of Delhi, and Mumbai, that have been put on high alert, and security measures have been heightened across all major airports, railway stations, metro stations, as well as public places.
All right, Debindu, we also have Salman joining us from there itself. Well, Salman, in fact, the Valley has announced a band today in response to the killing yesterday. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, most of the trade bodies that are here in Jammu and Kashmir, they have announced bands. The bands have been announced by the Jammu Trade Association, Kashmir Economic Forum, a lot of forums. The private schools of Jammu and Kashmir Association, they have announced bans. So a lot of trade bodies have announced bans, and transport bodies have announced bans. So it is likely going to be the ban against the terrorist attack yesterday in Pahalgam, and there were spontaneous protests all across Jammu and Kashmir yesterday night against these attacks, and the people condemned them unequivocally, and they expressed their grief.
Right, Salman, also if you can update us about the search operations which are going on there irrevocably, what's going on right now?
The search operations have been launched yesterday, just after the attacks had happened, and eventually these operations will take a lot of time, because these will be deliberate, because the geography and the topography of the area it's a very heavily forested area, and these are not small forests. These are forests were thousands of square kilometers. So definitely the search operations have been launched, but these search operations won't be very easy. They would have to be very deliberate, and security forces would have to plan. They would have to undertake simultaneous operations across different geographies in this case, and I think as the initial preparations would have been completed, I'm sure that the pace will pick up in this case, in the search operations.
Also, Salman, yesterday Home Minister Amit Shah held a high-level meeting in this state. Can you tell us about that?
Yesterday, the Home Minister Amit Shah he rushed to the Srinagar after the attacks, and he held a meeting with the LG Manoj Sinha and Chief Minister Umar Abdullah. It was attended by all the high security officials from JK Police, Army, and CRPF, and what we have been told is that they have expressed a commitment that the attackers will be pursued relentlessly, and they will be brought to the justice.
Also, can you update us, Salman, about the condition of the injured? What's the latest on that?
They are being right now treated across multiple hospitals serious ones have been taken to the army base hospital, and we will be updated later on about the condition of the injured and the exact death toll officially.
Also, could you brace us with the reaction of the locals there, because there have been a lot of candlelight march all around?
Yeah, definitely. There were protests in Srinagar, there were protests in Jammu, there were protests in Doordarshan, there were protests in Kupwara, Handwara, Baramulla. All across all the big towns, they had a protest in which the common people came out, and they condemned the attacks. They raised the slogans against the attackers, and they said that the attackers should be brought to the justice. So this is an attack which has seen near universal condemnation from the common people, from the trade bodies, from the professional bodies, and from all the significant political actors. CM Umarullah has come strongly against the attack. Midwise has also come strongly against the attack. So all the religious leaders they have condemned the attack. So there has been, in terms of the society, I think this would be one of the very turning points in that, the society has come very explicitly against the attack. So there have been all across the spectrum, there have been condemnations of the attacks.
Right, Salman, a lot of tourists there at the moment in Kashmir. The season is such, and the Amarnath Yatra is about to start. What are the tourists there saying?
I think this is a very traumatic experience for most of the tourists. They are very traumatic. Air India has just, the kind of the traumatic experience and of the tourists is that Air India has announced 2 special flights to basically accommodate their passengers who want to go out earlier. So some of the people who had the tickets, in a couple of days, they want to reschedule and go out today. So definitely this has a huge chilling effect. It's a very traumatic experience for the tourists, because for the tourists, they have come to a place they want to enjoy, they want to relax, but for them this has turned to be a very nightmarish situation, and it is being reflected in hotel bookings. It's being reflected in the scheduling of the airlines.
All right, so how are the flights being coordinated? As you said, the 2 special flights are being run today.
Yeah, we did talk to the airport authorities. They are saying that some of the airlines will be announcing special flights for their own passengers. And I think as the situation develops, I think they will try to accommodate as many as flights as the logistics will allow them. The airport authorities have established. What I got to know is they have established these standby tents, etc., because they expect some more people to come over there. So I think the details of more flights that will be announced, they will come. I think they will, because they'll also have to act on the fly, because they have to accommodate a lot of flights. So there will be a lot of logistical thinking behind that. And right now, what we have been told, we have not been given the details about the flights, the timings, but 2 extra flights have been announced by the Air India for their own passengers who want to reschedule.
All right. Also, Salman, as you said that the Kashmir Bandh has been announced. How is the situation there right now there?
I think it's still very early, because I'm sure that school children are not going. But the shops, etc., they usually close at they open at around 8:30. So we will know the kind of the extent of the response to the Bandh. But it's expected that the Bandh will be quite comprehensive and successful.
All right, Salman, thank you so much for all that information from there itself. And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download. Now we'll be back with more news and we'll keep on updating you about the attack in Kashmir. I'm Lipak Shikarana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.